So as we know that presently we're discussing regarding menstruation, correct? The sexual cycle in females. So in last class, we have been studied in detail what is menstruation and what is the process of this menstruation, how it will take place. So now what do you mean by menstruation? Anybody? Please. Can anyone define what do you mean by menstruation? So if the fertilization won't be takes place, so that dead egg along with the blood vessels which are present on the uterus, everything will come through the vaginal. That is only we used to call as menstruation. Is it yes or no? Or else we used to say a sexual cycle in females. So now how this process will take place and when it will start, that is what we will see in detail. So as we know that this menstrual cycle will take place in where, guys? Basically, it will take place in the female bodies, or else we used to call, if it comes to the human beings, women we can say. So now the sexual cycle in females, that is what we used to call as, simply we can say, menstruation or menstrual cycle we can say. So somebody will ask, what do you mean by menstruation? So we can say it is a sexual cycle in females. That is what we used to say. What do you mean by menstruation? So now this menstruation will start by the first point. When it will start, anybody can say, please. The menstruation will start in when? Please respond. When the menstruation will start, basically. If you're not speaking, then what is the use of it? What is the beginning stage of menstruation? That is what I am asking. Hello, are you there in meeting? What is the starting age or something will be there, correct? What is the menstruation? When it will start? That is what, then why are you people are silent? So when a girl reaches to the puberty, that is what? So when the time of birth time itself, our follicles, like female body cells, they're having thousands of eggs. But when a girl reaches to the puberty period, what is the age of puberty? If a girl is healthy, definitely it will be around 10 to 12 years. So during this period, a girl will reaches to the puberty age. So at that time, the sex hormones used to release into her blood. And that is what used to cause us to the releasing of egg from the ova. So one of the ovary in her ovaries become mature and they will start ripening the eggs. So that is what the beginning stage of menstruation. So first of all, when a girl reaches to the puberty age during 10 to 12 years, so what is happening? First of all, the sex hormones used to release. So who will release the sex hormones? Sex hormones is released by what? What is that sex hormones? Can anyone say? Speak. I don't want chatting. I don't want say also. So what is the sex hormones? Anybody can say? One is estrogen. Yes. One is estrogen and another one is what? And
progesterone. Progesterone.
Both used to release it by ovaries only. Is it yes or no? That is what the most important part of female reproductive system. So now in this, so basically they are having two kinds of ovaries. Is it yes or no? Right side one ovary and left side another ovary is present. So any one of the ovary will start get matured and it will start ripening one of the egg from the follicoid. So it is already having thousands of egg there, unmatured or unripened eggs. So one of the egg will mature and it will start releasing into the tubes called as, what is the tubes called as, guys? What is the tubes called as? Fallopian tubes. Yes or no? So that is what we have to remember. So now this fallopian tubes only will cut. So that releasing of the egg is only we used to call it as. So once the maturity stage, the puberty will come. So one of the ovary will release the egg. So that is only we used to call it as the releasing of eggs only we used to call it as. What is that called as, guys? Anybody can name it? That is only we used to call it as ovulation. Is it yes or no? So this ovulation basically will take place in how many days, guys? How many days once? It will take place in each 28 days one time. So one mature ovum is released from the ovary into these fallopian tubes. That is only we used to call as, what is another name of fallopian tubes, anyone? It is known as
Oviduct.
oviduct. Good. So oviduct, every 28 days once, this is what we used to call as ovulation period. So now here if you notice it, before ovulation means before releasing of ovum. So as I told you yesterday, so suppose the egg is ready to release into the oviduct, something will take place in the uterus. So what will take place, guys? Anybody? What will take place in uterus? So the inner walls of this uterus, if you take, so this all the inner walls of the uterus, what it will become? It will become very soft and thick, like a spongy, and fully filled with what? A tiny blood vessels. Yes or no, guys? Please respond.
Yes.
So why they will become tiny? They will become very soft and very thin. Anyone can answer? Very thick and very soft, like a spongy. Because yes, if yes. Yeah, somebody is saying what it is.
Because
they need to receive the egg, sir.
So now, if fertilization will take place, if the sperm is available in the female body, then the fertilization will take place in this fallopian tubes. So then the uterus is ready to adapt that and ready to implement in it, so that the further process will take place for developing the baby. So that process is only we used to call it as implantation. So once, if suppose the sperm is available in the female reproductive body, then the egg is fused. That is what we used to call it as fertilized egg. So this fertilized egg will start moving from the oviduct and it will start settling into some of the walls of the uterus. So that process is only we used to call it as implantation. Yes or no? So that is why before ready to release the egg by ovary itself, the inner linings of the inner walls of the uterus will start become very thick and spongy, and they will fill with the blood vessels, or we can say blood capillaries. Because to make it ready to it itself, it will start receive the fertilized ovum or egg, and if it is fertilized, then the implantation process will take place. So that is what the third point. If fertilization over, then the inner walls of the, what is happening? Inner walls of uterus will become very thick and spongy because of to ready to implant the fertilized egg. That is what. So uterus become a spongy and very thick. With the help of what, guys? With the help of blood vessels, and as well as what? Or we can say blood vessels, or we can say blood capillaries. So that is what it is happening. If suppose if the sperm is not available during that time, then what is happening? That is what menstruation cycle we can say. So if the sperm is not available, what is happening, guys? If the ovum or if the egg does not get fertilized because of the sperm is not available in the female body, then what is happening?
Sir, miscarriage will take place and bleeding will happen in the uterus wall.
So if the fertilization won't be takes place due to the sperm is not available in the female body, then there is no use of this soft and spongy, the inner walls of the uterus. Is it yes or no, guys? Please respond. And as I told you, what is the lifespan of the egg? The egg hardly can survive 24 hours, means in the sense of 1 day. So within a day, the sperm is not available. The egg also will die in this oviduct itself. And there is no use of this spongy and thick walls of inner walls of the uterus, so that what is happening? It will start breaking. So the inner walls of the inner lining of uterus no longer needed, so that it will start breaking. So this thick and soft inner lining of uterus along with the dead egg, it will start coming outside. That dead egg or ovum, it will coming out from the vagina in the form of bleeding. That is what we used to see in yesterday. So this is only we used to call as in the form of bleeding it will come. So that is only we used to call as what we used to call, guys? In the form of bleeding it is used to come. That is only we used to call as menstruation. Is it yes or no? So now this is what we used to happen in the fourth stage. So first stage, puberty stage, egg used to release. Before egg, it is used to release sex hormones, which will stimulate to ripen the egg. So any one ovum will release the egg, and this releasing of egg is only we used to call as ovulation. So after releasing the egg, that egg is transferred to the oviduct, or else we can say fallopian tubes. Is it as? Now third stage, before when the egg is ready to entering into the oviduct, then the inner walls of the uterus will become very thick and soft with the blood vessels and capillaries, because to receive, if the fertilization takes place, then they are ready to receive the fertilized egg. That is what we used to call as implantation. So if the implantation won't be takes place, then what is happening, guys? If the implantation won't be takes place, then this inner walls of the uterus, the soft and the thick inner walls is no need, and as well as egg will die, so that the walls will start breaks, or it will come in the form of bleeding, it will come outside. That is what we used to call as menstruation. So that is only fourth period. So fourth point. So now if you notice it, basically when this menstruation will start, when this usually occurs in, as I said, so totally it is from when 1 to 28 days is the total time period. So basically when the menstruation will start, the releasing of egg will start by 14th, understanding. So 14th day, basically it occurs in 12 to 16th day in the most of the female bodies, but exactly it will be released on the 14 days. Understand? So we can say this menstruation usually occurs 14 days after ovulation, and usually you can see 3 to 5 days the bleeding will stop hardly. So maximum first within 3 days the more bleeding will take place. By the 5 days the menstruation cycle will stop. So on the 14th day usually the egg will release. Next, when the menstruation will start, after 14 days. So after 14 days of ovulation only, the menstruation cycle will start, and it will ends by within 3 to 5 days. So hardly first 3 days only more bleeding will take place. Then later slowly it will stop. By the six days completely it will be clear. So this is how the menstruation cycle will take place. So when the menstruation starts, after 14 days of ovulation, understand? So menstruation cycle occurs 14 days after ovulation and usually ends in by 3 to 5 days. So now you can see here. So after ovulation, you can see after menstruation will takes place, then again the inner lining of the uterus starts building up again, so that it may become ready to receive the next ovule. So again the same process. So once the 3 to 5 days is over, then again the one of the ovary will start mature, so that it is ready to release the egg. So that what is happening? By the time the inner walls of the uterus, again it will start developing into a soft and a spongy like substance, because if suppose fertilization will take place, then it is ready to receive the implantation, the fertilized egg. So that is why again the inner walls of the uterus will start building up very soft and thick walls with the help of blood capillaries or blood vessels. So again they are ready to receive the fertilized egg. So egg will release if the sperm is available. Again, the fertilization will take place. If the fertilization will take place, then we are having importance of this soft walls of uterus. If it is not taking place, what is happening, guys? Again, the same thing. So again, what will happen? If the egg does not get fertilized, then again menstruation cycle will start. That is what. So like every 28 days. Understand? So every 28 days, if the menstruation, if the egg is not fertilized, then the menstruation is automatically, it will be repeated if you are completely healthy. So if it is fertilized, then automatically this menstruation will stop, and this menstruation will leads to once after the baby will deliver only. So that is what it will happen. So once the fertilization will take place, then automatically this menstruation will stop, because the inner walls of the uterus will go with the implantation of the fertilized egg, so that there is no use of breaking up these inner walls, so that it will never come in the form of menstruation. So this is all how this sexual cycle will take place, and how it will be described in a female body in the form of a step by step. So these are all the things. If they will ask you in exam, for example, describe the menstruation cycle in female body, then everything point wise you have to write like this. Do you understand, Karthikeyan, Pranav? Call to absentees. Yes, Bhumika. So that is what you have to remember it. So now if you see here, this menstruation stops temporarily only when the fertilization takes place. So unfortunately, when the sperm is available inside the female body, the fertilized egg will form. Then temporarily it will stop. It's not permanently it will. So that is what we used to call it as, if the woman gets pregnant, then during that period there is no menstruation cycle for in the female body. So because by the time the uterus walls is needed for the support of implantation, understand, for support of further growth of zygote into the what is the zygote into the next stage called as embryo. And the embryo after it is fetus, and fetus into the baby. So this everything is takes place in this thick walls only. They are only like supporting, so that the menstruation cycle will stop for temporary. So this is what we used to call as how the menstruation cycle will described in the female body. So any doubt, anybody? So and again, when the menstruation cycle will start, if the woman will become pregnant, it will stop temporarily. Again, when it will restart, once the baby birth, understand, after the birth of the baby, so after that, again the menstruation cycle will restart. That is how the life cycle of menstruation will take place in the female body. So now, this is what, as we said, so who will become first mature, guys? Boys or girls? First, that is what puberty period we studied. Yes or no? So now, this puberty period, what do you mean by puberty period? Anybody can say, please? So that like releasing of hormones or the sex hormones, and as well as the sex gametes will start releasing. That is the point we used to call it as puberty. Is it yes or no? Please respond. So now, puberty means in the sense of maturity of sex hormones. Sex hormones used to release, and as well as the gametes, it may be a female gametes or else it may be a male gametes will start producing. Is it yes or no? Please respond. So now, this puberty period means the sex hormones releasing and as well as production of gametes, either male or female, it will start at a beginning stage in the sense of, for example, if you take girls, 10 to 12 years it will start. And boys, when it will start, guys? Basically, it is more than the girls. Is it yes or no? So basically, boys, it will take place at the 14 to 16 years also it will be. So basically, it will the puberty period in the girls, it will begins at the 10 to 12 years. Now, if you take, it will ends by after the age of 45 to 50 years. So once the woman will reaches to the 50 years, then again, this menstruation cycle will stop permanently. So it will start at the age of puberty period, 10 to 12 years, and it will permanently end by 45 to 50 years. This is what it will happen. Yes or no? So now, this permanent stoppage of menstruation, then the woman loses her ability to bear a children. So once it will become permanently, menstruation will stop, then there is no 100% there is no guarantee to get a children again. So that is what at that stage we can say, once a woman will reaches to the 45 to 50 years, the menstruation will stop, and we can say that woman will become infertile. Means the further fertility there is no possibility for the permanent like what we can say to get the baby again. So this permanent stoppage of menstruation only, we used to call it as menopause. What we used to call it, guys? Menopause. Understand? So basically it will end in women's by 45 to 50 years. So now here same way, the puberty period only the sex hormones and as well as gametes used to produce for both women's and as well as men's. So this menstrual flow begins at the puberty stage when the girl or a woman is around 10 to 12 years age. Yes or no? So the occurrence of menstruation are at a puberty period where the menstruation cycle will start. That is only we used to called as menarche. Understand everyone? So the starting stage of menstruation is called as menarche and permanently stopped. Once the menstruation will stop permanently after the age of 45 to 50 years, then that is called as menopause. Understand everyone, Pranav? So these are the two things which will take place in the women's. So starting stage at the puberty we used to call it as menarche, and the end of this menstruation we used to call it as menopause. But if it comes to here, gents, menopause occurs basically at the age about 45 to 50 years. But if we'll stay at this stage, what will happen? The ovumes or else the ovulating at menopause, and no longer it will become pregnant because no eggs will be releasing. Ovulation only it will stop. If the ovulation will stop, then there is no releasing of eggs and there is no there is no possibility for the getting pregnant. So that is what. So we can say this menopause is the end of the reproductive life of a woman. So that is why we can say at this stage we can say that woman is a infertile. Do you understand everyone? That woman is what? Infertile. So the reproductive life of a woman starts at the menarche stage and ends in which stage, guys? Ends in the menopause stage. That is what you have to remember. So every woman, it will start at the menarche, the reproductive fertile stage. It will start at the menarche stage and ends at the menopause stage. So that is what do you mean by menarche and what do you mean by menopause? So please all of you keep reading. Have you understand? How many of you understand? Please respond. Menarche and menopause. Yes, please.
Yes.
Menarche and as well as menopause. So starting stage of menstruation we used to call it as menarche, and permanent stage of end stage of menstruation is called as menopause. Write the definition. Menarche. Menarche. So this menarche and as well as menopause only for where? Only for female bodies only, not for the male bodies. Because male bodies there is no end. That is what I will say you. First write it. Yes. Menarche. The first occurrence of menstruation. Menstruation is common language. What we used to call, guys? What is the common name of menstruation?
Periods.
Periods. So the first occurrence of menstruation at puberty is called. The first occurrence of menstruation at puberty is called menarche. Menarche. So this menarche will start at the age of what, guys? Basically in girls, it will start by 10 to 12 years. Completely end. Completely all right. And the menopause will end by what age? Basically based upon their health condition, 45 to 50 years, it will stop. That is one. So next, menopause. The permanent stoppage of menstruation. In a woman is called menopause. So menopause, we can say woman is a what? Woman, we can say she will become infertile. No possibility to no longer become a pregnant. There is no possibility to become a pregnant at this stage. It is extremely like 100%. There is no possibility to get a infertile, get a pregnant again, because by the time the ovulation itself won't be takes place. So no releasing of egg by the ovumes, so that no further process will take place. That is why we can say the reproductive life of a woman starts at the menarche and ends at menopause. Please write it. Last point. The reproductive life of a woman, the reproductive life of a woman starts at menarche and ends at menopause. Starts at menarche and ends at menopause. Is it okay, guys? Now, so let us come to the men's. So as we know, men's or boys, you can stay. So as we know, compared to the girls, the puberty period of boys is a little bit more. So what is the puberty period of boys, guys? Puberty period for boys or men's. The boys is around 13 to 14.
13 to.
So compared to the girls, it is little bit more. So at this stage, the male gonads, that is what we used to call as male gametes, will releases the hormones called as estrogen, understanding, and as well as estrogen, and as well as it will release what? Sperms. So now these one, there is no end in their life. So till the death, the male body used to produce this one. So that is why there is no.
Testosterone, sir. Sir, testosterone.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, not estrogen. So testosterone. So the testosterone and as well as sperms produced by the male gonads called as testes. So continuously, it's a lifelong process. Once it will begin at the puberty stage. So puberty stage, it will start, but end, there is no end for it. So lifelong, even though they become old also, they used to produce the testosterone and as well as sperms. That is why there is no kind of menarche and menopause in the boys or males. Okay. So this is what is menarche and what is menopause. Any doubt? Please respond. So if you'll understand this, then the last concepts of this chapter which we need to study, that is only one is birth control and the next one is birth control methods. So if you'll understand this, then almost this chapter is over. And the end of this chapter, we will study what is the sexual transmitted disease. That is what like AIDS and as well as some kind of infections and all. So that is with this chapter is going to end. So the next concept which we are going to study, what it is, guys? Birth control. Please keep heading. So what do you mean by birth control? Anybody? General language, please. So what do you mean by understand birth control?
Sir, avoid pregnancy.
Yes. Somebody said very simply. So avoiding pregnancy or else stoppage of pregnancy, that is what we used to say, birth control. So now why it is needed, the birth control? For example, we can take. So let us see the population of our country only increasing day by day. You might be see during the 1947, what is the specialty of 1947, guys? That is our independent year. Yes or no? So the year which we got freedom is 1947. So the 1947, the population of India is around 40 crores. Okay. So now we are in which year? 2022. So now our population is 140 crore. So even the time period is not 100 years between 1947 and 2022, but still the population is increased by 100 crores plus 100 crores. So that is what. So everywhere the Earth population reaches to the 700 billions within even 5 decades. Means within a 50 years of period. So 600 billions will become 700 billion population. So population of every country throughout the earth increasing very rapidly day by day. So even though our country has a sufficient food resources, but still many people do not get sufficient food for their large families. Yes or no, guys? So they are not getting sufficient food, and as well as many children due to they are not getting enough sufficient nutrient food and all because of poverty. You might be see if you'll go even Tamil Nadu, some villages, some women is having even 6 children, 7 children, 8 children. You don't think that, sir, is it now? Yes, now also you might be see. Some they are having 5 children, 6 children. You might be see it. Is it yes, guys? Sometimes. But if you go olden days like our grandparents' time, that by the time minimum getting 5-6 children is compulsory. Is it yes or no? Minimum 5-6 children they used to have. So that is what it is happening. Even you can take in my village, one lady, her name is, I don't want to say the name. She is having 12 children. That is what like my grandparents' age. She used to have 12 children. Imagine that, like 1 dozen it is. Even my grandmother, my father's mother also, 6 children. In that, okay, 2 died, 4 is alive. So now that is what. So everybody used to get a more number of, even though we have a sufficient number of, sufficient amount of food and as well as sufficient amount of land, shelter and everything, but the population is increasing very, very large. Families becoming very, very large. and many children, they are not getting a proper sufficient amount of food due to the poverty here. So every year it's becoming very difficult for our even government also. You can see every government before elections, they will release the manifesto only because of this poverty people only. So those who are below poverty line, those who are not getting like sufficient food, adequate clothing, good housing, and proper education. So they will try to do so many things. This is free, that is free, that is free. Like everything they will make to make these citizens of this country, every word, every country, every government used to release some kind of schemes or everything in this manifesto. So very important for every couple, like wife and husband. So every husbands and as well as wives. So it is not getting just because of this reproductive stage of their life, they should be in control to not get the babies more. So I'm not saying you to not get the baby permanently, but they should be, it must be, the birth must be controlled by the both these husbands and as well as wives, because we have to provide everything. Even present days, providing all the facilities for a single baby is also becoming very difficult because of everything, cost of living and as well as facilities, and even hospitality cost is increases much more. So very important of every couples, all the husbands and as well as wives, when they're particularly in this reproductive stage of their lives, they should control the size of their families by having of only fewer children, by practicing family planning through birth control measures. But what a present situation is happening, just for fun I am saying. So usually government is saying to control the size of your families by having only fewer children, like a very less number of children, by following some kind of birth control measures. But they are reducing the family size by avoiding grandparents and as well as etc. etc. So you might be see some textbooks also, small family, like we can say in dialogue also, small family, no problem family, like that it will come, correct? So they will say family, small family means only husband and only wife and as well as two children is called as small family. And government is saying to make your family control, not to remove by your grandparents and all. But we have understand the small family means only mother and father and as well as children. But grandparents is also our family only. So most of the families, they are avoiding that. So that is what I'm saying. Even just for saying information, last 2 years before, you might be know the Gautam Gambhir. You might be heard Gautam Gambhir, cricketer, Indian cricketer. Please respond. Yeah. So usually one of the most famous publications in India, they have been published that a small family means only wife and husband and two children, and they have been published. You have to maintain the family like that. Means indirectly they said that you have to avoid your grandparents and everybody, like your father's father, mother's father at a certain stage. So that is what they have been taught in the children's school education. So that is completely wrong. Even he used to file a case against that, and he went near to Supreme Court. So that is. So let it be. That is not our thing. So now if this reproductive stage of everybody's, once they will get into this, become married, wife and husband, then they have to be control their family by getting only few children, and they have to follow the family planning operations through the birth control measures. So this family planning enables these couples who are there, they decided on their number of children and it wants to have when they have to, when they're having. For example, we want one child or two child. After that, we'll go with this birth control measures. Then these couples having less number of children and they can provide good food and good clothes and good education to the each child. That is what. So based upon the capacity of the parents only. So each child, they used to how many they need to get, either one or two, based upon your strength and your capacity. So if they are ready to provide good food and good clothes and everything, good education for every child, so they only can allow to get more. That is, parents should decide. So this will once they are following this one, and then it will make the parent and as well as the children, everybody is happy, because getting birth is not only the sufficient thing, because after that parents, as a parent, they should take care of them till at a certain age. But this is not happening in our like our Indian countries. So that is why a small family is a happy family. That is what people used to thought in our school life and as well as college life everywhere. A small family is a happy family. But according to me, a small family is a happy family, including our parents also, grandparents also. So now that is what you have to remember. It should be noted that every few children also keeps the mother in good health also, because you might be see those who are giving birth to the more children, particularly some families you might be see, so their mother health also is matters. So once if you are getting even